True sacrificial generosity is a visible picture of God's grace. It transcends difficult circumstances. True sacrificial generosity is given with abundant joy. It's not hindered by poverty. It's liberal. It's proportionate. It's sacrificial. It's voluntary. It's holistic. And above all, it's an act of worship. But you know what's cool about this little text right here? Paul uses these churches in Macedonia as an example of sacrificial generosity for the church in Corinth. But who's the example for those churches that were in Macedonia? Look at verse 9 real quick. This is how Paul sums it up. For you know the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, that though he was rich, yet for your sake he became poor, so that you, by his poverty, might become rich. The ultimate example we have for what sacrificial generosity looks like is in Jesus Christ, who Romans says, while we were still sinners, died for us. How great is the love of the Father to give everything so that we might be reconciled to him. The ultimate picture of sacrificial generosity. And so there's a snapshot of what that looks like. Now the question is, if that's what sacrificial generosity looks like, how do we do it? What do we do it with? As you read the scriptures, what you find is there's three primary areas that God calls his people to be sacrificially generous. And that is with our time, with our treasures, and with our talents. Now we've already seen one snapshot of treasures, what that could look like. It can be monetary or it can be material treasures that we sacrificially give up in order to advance God's kingdom. But the first thing that we have to note when it comes to offering our treasures for the Lord, whatever it may be, whether it's money or whether it's physical assets we have, the first thing that we have to know before we'll ever get sacrificial generosity right is the understanding that everything you own, you don't actually own. Everything you and I own is God's. Psalm 50 says that God owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. Everything on earth is God's. Colossians 1 says that all things that are created, whether visible or invisible, whether in heaven and earth, were made by Christ, through Christ, and for Christ. Everything you can possibly see in this entire world is made by God, for God. It's all his. And then what we find out is in Luke chapter 19, as followers of his who've been saved by his blood and left here on earth to fulfill his commission, we find out in Luke 19 that all the things that you see around us, everything that's ever been given to us, whether it's your paycheck, whether it's the house you live in, the car you drive, the TV you watch at night, the family that you have, everything that has been given to us has been put on loan to us by God, that we would steward it until he returns, that we would take what has been given to us and we would invest it into his kingdom, not ours, that we would make a return on that investment for his kingdom, so that when he comes back, there'll be an accounting. And oh, by the way, Hebrews chapter 4 says that when he returns and he takes us with him, and we pass on, all the stuff we had actually doesn't go with us. I'm sorry, but when you die, we're going to take all your stuff and we're going to sell it. It's going to be awesome. But that's what's going to happen. Merry Christmas. That's what's going to happen. The reality is, Hebrews 4 says that when we stand before God, we'll stand before him absolutely naked. And the question that he's going to ask us, according to 2 Corinthians 5, is what have you done with what I gave you?